Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to yet another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is that time of the week. It's match day review showtime. And as you can see, for the second time this week, we have the pleasure of the company of Tom Williams, Notts County fan, podcaster, general lower league guru. You should be following him because I told you to do it the other day. And of course, Reese is back to join us to co-host as we look back on a very impressive 3-1 win for the Gills at Meadow Lane on Friday night. Such is the excitement amongst myself and Reese and the Gillingham fan base. We are recording on a Saturday because we couldn't wait until Sunday. Hello, Reese. That smile says it all.
Yeah, is it the first time we've done a Saturday morning like this? Obviously, because of the Friday fixture, and it just feels a little bit surreal, the whole experience, I think. But yeah, I'm eager to talk this game through with your good selves. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's one that's there's plenty to pick out of it, I think, from both teams' perspectives, and obviously Tom will have his ideas on it from a Magpies point of view. But we'll go back to, I nearly said 2 o'clock, but it would have been 6:45 p.m., wouldn't it? And the team news came in. And to be fair, two fairly similar systems, both lining up in a back three. So Notts County went with Stone in goal, Warner, Baldwin, and Cameron as a back three. There was then a variation of Nemain, Bostock, Robertson, Jones. In front of that, the pairing of Crowley and McGoldrick, and lone frontman was Macaulay Langstaff. Gills, slightly different setup further forward, but Jake Turner in goal. Three centre-backs of Masterson, Ema and Ogie, Hutton and Clark as the wing-backs. It was then a trio of Dieng, Coleman and Williams in midfield. And Josh Walker, at least, on the graphics before games, was meant to be pairing Ollie Hawkins up front, but it didn't quite pan out like that. Reese, Tom, I've written a paragraph to sum up the game before we get into the nitty-gritty, and I've put Magpies had loads of the ball territory as expected. But for me, aside from the first 10 minutes when I thought we were perhaps too respectful, we kept them at arm's length and generally made them play the game in front of us and deserved the win. Tom, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I think you've summarised it really well. I think that's spot on. Like, we had lots of the ball, like we'd expect, but we struggled to break you down, didn't we? And yeah, we played in front of you. That's the thing, is we didn't really get any runners in behind. It's difficult because you're an organised team. You clearly have been organised all season, but I don't want to say that in a way that you don't attack, because you did do some really nice stuff in the final third as well. And I think the better team clearly won on the night. We weren't at it at all, but that's not to take anything away from you guys, because you set up really well to nullify our threats, really.
Yeah, Reece, I mentioned Josh Walker at the start there and said that he was meant to be, at least on the graphics that came out before games, the partner to Ollie Hawkins, but didn't really work out like that for large periods of the game. There's been a couple of heat maps floating around on social media, and I think Josh, for most of the game, was deeper than the likes of Romeo Hutton, Timmy Dieng and Johnny Williams. Such was his defensive work, which was really good. And he spent a lot of his time from either side as we went to like a 5-4-1 to try and counter the heavy possession that Notts County had. And I thought Josh Walker was one of them that was absolutely superb in a very understated manner.
Yeah, I think so. He's one of those invisible players I thought you saw around the pitch. He was just like, I was surprised to see him in certain territories of our own half. And quite often when I'm commentating over the game, obviously he's a new player through the door, but because he's had a little bit, it seems to be out of position. I was finding it quite hard to quickly identify him, because like, what are you doing down there? But actually, he was all over the pitch, and he was doing the tough work, doing the dirty work, and doing the hard work and the grafting work, sort of to free up other places to make sure that we defended pretty well and we were solid at the back, and we were organised at the back, and I thought we did make it difficult for Notts County throughout that whole period of the game. But yeah, it was. You're right. The graphic did allude to the fact that Walker would be in a different position, but he was over that back line and over the midfield, just trying to do stuff and trying to be solid and in the park. And I thought it was credit to his performance, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that he's got pace, and we want him to play on the shoulder generally when we're and maybe we see that Tuesday night more at home when we should hopefully have more of the ball. But yeah, phenomenal performance out of possession, certainly. Right, let's get into the timeline of the game. I've put down that first 10 minutes we got pinned in. I tweeted after the first goal went in that I thought we were too passive, and I feared for us at the time, because we heard at the fans forum during the week and in the press conference again about being brave, not just in terms of heading things and blocking things and making big tackles, but in terms of taking the ball in tight areas and trusting each other. And I didn't think we did that first 10 minutes. I know Stephen Clemence has come out and said Notts County were very good first 10 minutes, and I'm not taking anything away from them. They keep the ball for fun. They're very good at it. But I just thought we allowed it to happen too much. Tom, we mentioned right at the start of the show that you didn't get in behind anywhere near enough from a Notts County point of view. But I think the only time I can really recall was right at the beginning. I think Aaron the Main played a 1-2 with someone and got to the byline. I can't remember if he got the ball in or it got blocked, but that felt like at the time that was going to be a plan for Notts County. But it was something that we managed to nullify, thankfully, from our point of view.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing, is that when we went 1-0 up in the first 10 minutes, I'm going to admit it, I was probably guilty of thinking, well, here we go, it's going to be quite a comfortable game, because especially the evening games under the lights of Meadow Lane, we've had a few this season where we've just sort of battered the team. Like they've sort of turned up and it's been one-sided. It's only been 2 or 3-0, but it's been like kind of, we're playing at a bit of a canter. And I thought, well, we're 1-0 up after 10, 12 minutes, whatever it was. And I thought, well, this is going to be quite straightforward. I thought we might win 2 or 3-0. This will be a comfortable performance and we'll go on our way. But it went the other way in terms of we had a similar start against Mansfield at home. We started really well, got a goal. Dan Crowley scored that goal as well against Mansfield. And then we sort of just fell apart. Like everything seemed to be lethargic then. And yeah, like you say, the men got to the byline early on. And we seem to have lost that to our game as well. That's not just under the new manager, that's the last 10 games or whatever. Before that, it would be constant getting the main to the byline, getting in behind with that slip through ball. We don't do it as much now, and everything seems a little bit slower tempo, slower pace, and I think that suited you really.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, the goal did come though, Reece, and I mean it's difficult to be too critical when you're up against. And me and Tom discussed them on the preview show, the likes of Jody Jones, now the record holder for most assists in a League Two season with 16 games to go, which is staggering. Dan Crowley, double figures for the season. So it's tough to be overly critical, but I thought, again, that passive nature of that opening 10 minutes cost us the goal because we were slack with the ball, gave it away, and then it was all a bit lethargic in terms of getting back in. Jody Jones just offloads a simple ball, and then Crowley's got time to have a touch, get his head up. It's a decent finish. I don't think Jake Turner can do anything about it. It's in off the post. But much in the way that Tom said, maybe he was guilty of thinking the night would have been then fairly routine for Notts County. As a Gills fan, despite a couple of games recently where we come from behind to get points, did we fear, here we go again, this could be a long night? And against a side that we need to be getting something from to stay in the playoff mix, it's going wrong quite quickly.
But it's they're Notts County right from the offset. Basically the goal was the product of their first sort of 10, 15 minutes of high pressing and high energy play. And it was obviously clear that the instruction was go out and get the first goal, because if you can do that as quick as you can, you're going to potentially get another one and see this game through. And I think Notts County, that was you could clearly see that's what was happening, and the energy was high, and it was, and they were asking questions of us instantly, and I think it did that 10 or so minutes, it put us on the back foot, and so ultimately I think the goal was at that moment in the game was deserved, and it was a good finish as well. And as a result of that, I thought, here we go again. It's a Friday night. We're away from under floodlights. This doesn't look great for us. And you know, we tend to always feel like we do perform a little worse under the floodlights for whatever reason, and particularly away from home. It felt like a very same old story. Going early, 1-0 down. It'd probably be 2 by half time. And I just thought, this game has the potential to be a long-winded one where it will be a forgettable game for Gills. That's how I felt after 15 minutes. And considering we gave Notts County so much respect in the onset of that 15 minutes or so, I just thought, yeah, this isn't going to be a good game for us. But yeah, obviously it didn't turn out that way. But yeah, you're right. We gave a lot of respect to Notts County in the first portions of this game.
Yeah, but from this point on, and I tweeted at full time, this is where you have to give Stephen Clemence and Robbie Stockdale huge credit, because he made 3 changes to the personnel, which obviously hindsight's a great thing, and you've won the game, so of course it looks like they're good changes. But we just felt more balanced in the middle of the park. Johnny Williams in his preferred role, given licence to roam left and right because of the fact that you've got 2 midfielders behind and a back 3. But for me, there was like a light bulb moment. We suddenly got the ball in a good area, Notts County defended it but didn't look comfortable. And I thought, Tom, that Gills then suddenly went, hang about, if we just step up 10 yards, if we just get in their face a little bit, we're going to cause them problems. And from that point on, I thought we played out the game plan to pretty much perfection.
Yeah, it's that respect that you spoke about. You kind of gave us too much respect, and as soon as I think going down, maybe going one down, kind of sparked a little bit of something for you. And if it stayed 0-0 for a longer period, perhaps we would have gone into the game a little bit longer. That sounds crazy. Going 1-0 up, kind of, I think it probably lit a fuse under you, and you thought, okay, we've got to actually get out of there. And then as soon as you did, we are a team that, unfortunately, when a team gets at us, we're susceptible to crumbling. It is unfortunately how we are at the moment. If a team can get at us, we really do struggle. So yeah, I think you're right. I think as soon as you sort of clicked and worked out that actually on the back foot they're not as comfortable. We liked, obviously we enjoyed, like most teams do, going at teams, but as soon as we're on that back foot, we're not very comfortable at all. I think you really played on that, and yeah, the rest is to say history, because from that point on, we were not really in the game. I think second half, we'll get onto it, obviously, I'm sure, as we go through the timeline. Second half, we made some changes, but for the remainder of the first half, for sure, there's only one team really in it.
Yeah, and the goal came pretty quickly as well, Reece, I think, which helped us. It could, if you get back in a game but don't take your chances, which rinse and repeat for Gills for most of the season, you then become frustrated, and then you start chasing it, and then you maybe go a bit direct a bit quickly and make the wrong decisions. But 9 minutes, I think, between the first two goals in the game, which was massive for us. Connor Masterson, I thought, did very well in doing what Notts County centre-halves want to do, especially the outside two, which is to step into midfield and create overloads. Romeo Hutton was high all night, almost cheated the entire game, and just stayed midway between the halfway line and the Notts County byline, which I think he was allowed to do because our other fullback, we'll get to him in a little while, was generally compact and tucked in and stayed deeper when we was defending. But it's not actually Hutton, for a change, that puts the ball into the box, because we know his delivery is absolutely superb from that area. But what he does is he lays it off to Masterson. It's brilliant delivery from Connor Masterson. Take a touch, and I think Notts County defend it, because they all get set. Whips it in first time. Ollie Hawkins and Timmy Dieng have both got a run on their men, and it was just a case of which one was going to nod it past Aidan Stone into the back of the net, and it was big Ollie Hawkins. And again, similar to that first attack where we thought, actually, like Tom said, they're susceptible here. From there, I just thought it was almost like every player just sort of grew 6 inches to a foot, and we went, you're not going to boss us, we're going to go and boss you. But it was a really good leveller.
It was a great level, and I think what Hutton's doing down that right side, you say he played very, very high for that right wing back role. I think he stretched the play over there. He gave a lot of space, a lot of options for players like Masterson to be able to, not necessarily always put a ball in the box, but to have a few more options out there, and potentially just a bit more time and a bit more flexibility over on that right side. And I think just Hutton stretching that it just adds another string to his game. He hasn't necessarily always got to put a decent ball in the box to be effective. He can do other stuff. He can stretch to play, he can give room for other players to find space to put balls into the box, and that's exactly what happened with our equaliser. And it's a decent ball from Marston. You make a really astute point. He did it first time, and that caught Notts County a little bit flat-footed, I think, and it meant that both Dieng and Hawkins were ready for that as well. And it's just I think it's just Hawkins is probably taller than Dieng that he got on the end of it. I mean, it could have been either of them ultimately, but still, I just want to give Hawkins a lot of credit. That's still a tricky header to do. He's still got to beat Stone in his goal, and he's got to put it in a tidy place in the right hand side of the goal. He can't just because you normally tell players to head it into the ground, but that one, if you're gonna hit it with that much power and that much accuracy, you've got to do it well. So it's all credit to Hawkins for the tidy header. But yeah, it's matched by the fact that Masterson put in a belter of a cross, which was ultimately the third assist coming from Hutton stretching the play. So it was a really, you can see why the sort of the possession, not the possession, the players are elevated by that passion of play, because a lot of people were involved with it, and you can see, we can do this, we can make some change, we can make an impact here, and we can get back into this game. And I think that first goal is really important for that.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's a good summarisation of that goal. And we know Notts County are then going to get the ball back, and they're going to keep it, and they're going to keep passing and probing and trying to find ways through. So it was a case of then maybe staying in the game and get into half time, dare I say it, at 1 each, because a draw at Meadow Lane is not a bad result. But Notts County had a lot of ball again, but I felt there was a couple of free kicks that came into our box. We defended them pretty comfortably. I think Scott Robertson dragged one wide for about 20 yards, Tom, and I'm going to ask you about his performance because I know we spoke about him on the preview show. But what did it feel like from a Notts County performance? Because we reacted really well to conceding our goal, but I didn't sort of see the same sort of vigour from Notts County reacting to our equaliser. It just felt like you was, I don't want to say going through the motions, but that passage of play, and as the game went on and we scored a couple more, there didn't seem to be an alternative plan. It was just, we'll just keep passing and hope more than believe that something will open up for us, or someone like Dan Crowley will whack one in from 20, 25 yards again. It was almost like you was relying on an individual piece of brilliance or an error from us rather than having any real belief that you could play through us or round us.
Yeah, I think that phrase "going through the motions" is actually spot on. I think you can say that about us because that's kind of what we did, and that's a good point about the goal is that we didn't actually open you up at all night. Really, the goal came from a 25-yard strike, like so, and it was a great piece of individual quality. But we didn't really open you up. Okay, we had the second half, we had a couple of chances, but yeah, like that's the end of that first half. Like you say, the response to go in level again, it was just a little bit like it was a bit flat, and that's kind of what it has felt like a little bit recently. And I think this is the game where people are starting to. It's been too constant now, and it's the pace of the pass was. We're not forcing anything. It's like you say, it's going through the motions. It's okay, playing through your patterns, but not with any real pace or vigor, and that is quite easy to play against. But I just want to quickly mention the quality of your team, because when you were talking through the goal, you mentioned Timmy Dieng, who's a bit of a rotation option for you, I think, and I mean he's been a promotion winner at this level not that long ago, and he's a great player. And Connor Masterson, I'd absolutely love him in our team because, like you say, he can get in those right areas, and he's a great player and a great defender. So I think our fans perhaps have looked at this game and seen the goal record that we spoke about and thought we should be getting something from it. But I think man to man, you've got one of the teams in the league that would match us man for man, like in terms of personnel. Like your quality of your players is incredible. Like Romeo Hutton, you've mentioned, you brought him in. Johnny Williams again doesn't always start. What a player he can be. I know these players haven't consistently hit the heights for you this season, but I just think you guys should be really optimistic because if you can keep playing like that, you've definitely got the quality to be easily a top 7 team, I think, like on paper. So, yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that because while you were talking through the goal, I thought, wow, what a list of players that is. So, our fans saying, "Oh, we've lost 3-1 to Gillian. What's going on?" Well, actually, you're a very good team and got some very good players as well.
And is it fair to say that we probably had a better bench than yourselves last night as well? I know you've got injuries and stuff like that, but we're calling on Jules Lapsley, Robbie McKenzie, the lad from Watford, Jorge Cabezas Hurtado. We've got Glenn Morris, who's Player of the Year at Crawley for about 5 of the last 7 years before coming to us. Scott Malone didn't get on. Connor Mahoney didn't get on. Ashley Naderson didn't get on. I mean, solid League Two players, or in Malone and Mahoney's case, players that come out of the Championship.
Yeah, much better bench. And again, in the second half, I'm sure we'll talk about our changes and stuff, but like having no options on the bench killed us really because we didn't have anything that can change the game. We've got absolutely, like you said, we had no other plan. But you look at the bench, Will Randall has dropped from the bench again, so I assume he's probably injured again. He's not really got a run at all this season. And then you look at that bench, Junior Marias didn't come on. He's probably the only one you could look at that we didn't bring on that we could have brought on because we brought on Jim O'Brien and Sam Austin, who are both good players, but not players that you
want to try and come on and change the effect of the football match. Yeah, totally get that. Luckily for us, Reece, we did have players that could keep changing the pattern of the football match, and the second goal came shortly afterwards. Again, it's neat and tidy from us, and we're doing it in the right areas, and that's probably something that can be levelled at Notts County as well in terms of you can pass it and pass it and pass it, but if you're doing it on the edge of your own box, it doesn't have an effect because we can let them do it there. But there was a really neat triangle between, I think it was Timmy Dieng, Romeo Hutton first gave it to Johnny Williams. Then Johnny Williams sort of sidestepped his man and gave it to Dieng, who'd popped up on the right wing, which was, again, it was a good sign from our point of view because we was flexible within our system. We were getting different people into different areas, which makes it difficult to pick them up. I don't think it's a great cross from Timmy, to be fair. I think he kicks the floor, it looks like, on iPhone. Notts County, I suppose, from a defensive point of view, probably could do better because it bounces across their box. Josh Walker gets the faintest of touches just to lift it over the centre half that's marking him. And from then on, I'll just let you talk through Max Clark's absolute wand of a left foot.
Well, yeah, it's one of those ones where you think, can I say, a shot to do that is the technique behind that is quite incredible. To control it, pretty much take it, or took it first time. The ball is half volley essentially, as it were. But what I really enjoyed about this goal was that you could have thrashed it, you could have absolutely walloped it, but it just seemed to finesse it. It just caressed it, and it just floated really nicely with the right amount of pace into the top right hand corner. I wonder if Stone got an absolute minor touch there, but you can't do anything about a shot like that at all. It just looks, it's a beautiful goal. It really is, and also on top of that, like we were manufacturing everything from the right hand side, and it's about time we got a little bit of luck with the ball going into the box in the right place if it flicked off Walker. But this is what we've been screaming out for since the start of the season: is that if you've got a slight open of an opportunity, have a go. Might go in, you never know. But if you've got someone like Max Clark, who for me has worked, he's a decent left back and left wing back. He's had to work so hard to get into this team. Out of all players on that pitch that deserved like a moment, I think it's him. And I'm glad that it came in the quality of goal that he produced himself, because I tell you what, there's not many players on this pitch, I reckon, who could have pulled that off. And it's just Max Clark did that yesterday, and it was just beautiful to watch.
I suppose the only other one who could potentially pulling it off, going off of what we've seen this season, is the bloke that he replaced in the lineup. And that was Scott Malone. And it was, I think you're doing Max a disservice when you said he's a good left back. I think he was probably top 3 left backs in the whole division last season, wasn't he, Tom?
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of, again, when I was talking about the quality of your team, like, he's not even really been getting that many games, has he, for you guys? Obviously, Scott Malone's an incredible left back, but like, Max Clark should not be a backup. I tweeted that when he scored. I said, I just cannot believe he's a backup for any team in League Two. Like, he'd be a really good backup in League One for a team. Like, never mind a team in League Two. And yeah, that finish was just ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, to take that first time, like you said, the technique is unreal for that. Like, that is not easy, and he's made it look easy. First time coming across him, kind of is it like outside the foot type.
Yeah.
Finish.
I've just looked at it again. He's both feet are off the floor when he makes contact. He's completely airborne when he makes contact with it. It's a ridiculous hit. Like, I think it's one of them that probably goes under the radar because it's not rocketed in the top right in the top corner. It's not hit the underside of the bar and gone in. People might think it's all right, but the technique is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's an absurd finish, and I think because it's like not that far out, but like, to score from that, like the XG on that, not to go on about issue, but there wouldn't have been high at all. Like, it would have been extremely low, and to finish that like that, it's just a testament to his ability. And I hope he gets more games because I think he's a brilliant player.
Yeah, I messaged him this morning and said, like, absolutely made up for you, because he's had to bide his time for so long, and that's what happens. And we did sign him to be first choice left back, but when a player like Scott Malone becomes available, you don't say no. That's the thing, do you? Again, after the second goal went in, Reece, it just felt again that Notts County sort of didn't know how to react and were like, hang about. It was almost like Tom mentioned at the beginning, scored the first goal, and Tom said he was guilty of it. So I'd imagine some Notts County fans as well as Tom were guilty of it and thought, oh, this could be a comfortable evening. It almost looked like the players felt that way as well. And then when it went to 2-1, they just didn't have a clue how to respond. And we got to half-time very comfortably.
Yeah, we really did get. I mean, because it's one of those things. I would have thought after 2 goals conceding 2 goals, I thought Notts County would have really raised their game. But I was quite surprised because the majority of their play, because of the hugely possession-based side, what is really surprising to me is it felt like when there was advancements into Gillingham territory, it felt like a handball game where it was just passed around the box and then there was no penetration into the box to make anything really happen, particularly in the first half. So it was kind of like it got to the final third and then it went back out to the centre circle and to the other side, and there was lots of cross balls from right to left that there seemed to be no sort of movement into the box to make it tricky for us. And I can see Notts going to have done that in the past, and that's the style of play that they want to try and play, but it just didn't quite work. And I thought even after going 2-1 down, I thought from Notts County perspective, there wasn't a really raising the game. And yeah, we did kind of get to half time and relatively comfortably. And I was pretty surprised with that, to be honest, as well. But yeah, it was I was surprised Notts County didn't raise the game at all.
Yeah, so on to the second half, and I think it's fair to say that the second period started in much the same way as the first. Notts County come out. You'd be expecting they'd have got some sort of rocket, if that's the right word, from Maynard, and they was going to be on the front foot and try and press us back. And again, you're still very aware that despite them being in a rough run of form, that if they get the equaliser early in the second half, then the crowd's going to get up and it would be a tough sort of 35, 40 minutes potentially. But again, it was the same sort of thing. They kept it. They went backwards. They went side to side. They couldn't get in behind. Anything that came into our box, we headed or cleared or blocked. And then I'm going to talk to you about the third goal, Tom, because this is absolutely horrific from a Notts County point of view, isn't it? I mean, I'm sitting there watching the coverage and I'm thinking, all right, it's a decent corner. The ball comes in. It gets headed back across goal. Keeper comes out, flaps. It bounces. You think they're going to clear it. It goes up in the air rather than out of sort of any type of distance. Shadogie's then allowed to just flick a header unattended back into a danger zone. And I'm still sitting there thinking, oh, the keeper will come and punch it or claim it or a defender will clear it. Connor Masterson stood literally on his top, middle of the 6-yard box, is allowed to let it bounce and then just head it unguarded into the net. I mean, we've spoke about Notts County defensive problems. I think that encapsulated it in a pretty sorry nutshell, didn't it?
Yeah, spot on. I think if anyone wants to see our defensive issues, you can just watch that goal, like 10, 15-second clip or whatever it'll be. Like, it is embarrassing, really, isn't it? For a professional, League Two side to defend like that. And I don't like slamming players and the team at all. Like, that's not what I'm about. But we haven't been able to defend a set piece for years, really. It's been an issue for a long time in the National League, and like this season, it's not really got better, but. Like, that was one of the worst we've had. Like you say, it was like watching it. It was like, yeah, that'll be cleared. It's not been cleared yet, but there's another. Oh, here we go. It's cleared now. No, and then there's 3 or 4 opportunities to get it clear, or not even necessarily clear. Like give another corner away, or just anything to get rid of the danger. But just no one took responsibility. No one really attacked the ball at all. And like you say, your players like you've got. Your centre halves are unmarked, like 2 centre halves. Like it's just crazy, like how like bleak that viewing was. Like it not to sound too doom and gloom about one individual moment, but that again, I've used that phrase a couple of times, but it really did like just stopped us dead in the water, really, because any chance of us getting back in the game from that point was gone. To even get a point there, we need 2 goals. So, and you guys don't concede many either. So, from that point, it was like. It was an uphill battle then, and to not defend a set piece at all, you can accept a set piece that's delivered in and gets the first contact and it's flicked on and they score and it's a great delivery. But the manner of that goal, it just didn't really sit right in it. Yeah,
I just want to interject. I think your commentary team for Notts County summed up really nicely when I was watching iFollow, because your main commentator said when that goal went in, it's absolutely schoolboy defending, and the co-commentator went, that's an insult to schoolboy defenders. Like, that's kind of. I thought, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, was it? Let's be honest, but. I jumped on the Notts County Talk podcast on Thursday evening, Tom, jumped on their preview, and I said, is this a byproduct of being in the National League? Because you said this is an issue that's beyond the start of this season, in the sense that, and similarly to Wrexham at the start of this campaign as well, I think in the National League, you might give up 5 chances, but you might concede none or 1 because of the difference in quality. Whereas now, if you give up that amount of chances, you can see 2, 3, 4 potentially. Is that something that's a byproduct of coming out of the National League and not learning in terms of the step up into the Football League?
Yeah, possibly. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that more teams didn't get more set piece goals against us last season, because there's a lot of big teams in the National League. And again, I don't want to reduce it down, because the National League has got some good quality, but there are a lot of big teams, and some of the teams at the top of the table, especially last season, there were 2 or 3, at least 3 actually, who were sort of direct teams with a lot of height, and actually we struggled against a couple of those actually. And I think that, I think it's a byproduct of that, and I think as well the respect thing, like we mentioned at the start, that was there last season for us and for Wrexham. Teams we went in against, I use this analogy a lot. It's a little bit like Mike Tyson when he was a boxer in the early 90s. The people he was facing were beaten before they even got in the ring a bit, and it's a little bit like that last season. The teams were coming to us going, hopefully we can, maybe nick a point here. But teams now, have seen that we've got frailties and go to us and think, well, we can beat them. And that's the difference in mentality, I think, as much as anything. The respect level has gone, and we've struggled to adapt to teams not showing us that respect.
Yeah, and I think it probably emphasises it more, the fact that you conceded 3 goals to a side that's still going less than a goal a game this season in terms of goals scored. So if we can do it, then it does give cause for concern that more potent teams are going to come and give you more problems between now and the rest of the season. County did try to resemble some sort of coming to life and semblance of a fight back and trying to get back in the game. But again, it all sort of felt a bit puff and puff and not really blowing the house down, barely even opening the back door, so to speak. They played the game in our half, Reece, I think, after the third goal, but again, we kept them at arm's length. We was clever. Our wing backs tucked in, and maybe for a period, Hutton was as deep as he'd been all game, and we had 2 shields in terms of Timmy Dieng and Ethan Coleman. I think Notts County made a change. Jake Turner fell on a couple of crosses. I think there was one shot that got scuffed through, and he sort of landed on it and wasted a bit of time, which you're going to do when you're 3-1 up away from home. David McGoldrick dragged one wide that was feeble in his attempts. And then one of the substitutes, I think it was Sam Austin, had a chance at the back post. Finally, Jody Jones got himself into the game again on the right. Ball deep. I think it was Austin's first 2 touches. One to chest it down, but the second one, he's blazed over the top of the bar. Then we made our first change. And I think it was Josh Walker, who'd, I'd imagine, had probably run himself to a standstill. Such was his defensive work. He was replaced by Jules Lapsley, and we went to a 5-4-1 diamond to try and shore things up. And again, credit to Stephen Clemence, because it felt proactive. I've said since he's come in, I think a lot of his substitutions have been a little bit reactive to conceding a goal or stuff like that, or to sort of replicating what other teams are doing, or waiting until 60 to 65 minutes because he feels he has to do that, because that's what managers do. But I thought it was a really proactive substitution. Then we had another chance, didn't we? I think it was Max Clark who probably ventured over the halfway line for just the second time in the game. Deep ball from wide. I think Tim Dieng gets their far post. Again, there's massive indecision, Tom, in the Notts County defence and keeper. It's like the keeper's wanting the centre halves to edit. The centre halves are waiting for the keeper to come and claim it. He comes and flaps and pats it down. And to be fair to him, you've got to say he makes a good save, because Ollie Hawkins, for all the world, looks like he's going to volley it into the back of the empty net for 4-1. But Stone, I think, flings out a leg and it goes out for a corner. But again, it was just something else that was synonymous with the Notts County performance. It was all very, no, you do it. No, you do it. No, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it was just that my passion that you talk about, though, is it's funny after Notts County trying to find their way back into the game, and they seem to be making advancements, and it's one of those things. If one of those chances do go in to make it 3-2, then you seriously are asking the character of Gillingham. And I think that was the period of play where Notts County had to get something back into the game to ask questions of us.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then that doesn't happen. And then, like you say, Matt Clark comes forward, puts the ball in, bounces around. I've got to say, actually, I saw some tweets about Aidan Stone from Notts County fans. They seem to not be too impressed with him. I mean, yesterday wasn't a great advert for the goalkeeper, unfortunately. I'm sure he's not as bad as people are making out, but he seemed a little bit lacking confidence yesterday. And even the shot which Ollie Hawkins had when it fell to him, I kind of felt like it was more the ball hit him rather than Stone saved it. It kind of felt a bit like that. And I think on another day, Hawkins tries to put it more in a place in the net rather than just blast it. But like I say, if that goes in the back of the net, then it absolutely curtains. But no, I do feel every time Gillingham went forward, I felt like we could score, and that is something which we've been a bit more direct and decisive with our movements forward from yesterday than compared to what we have throughout the whole season, it seems. And it just felt like every time we were going forward, we could create something. And that's an unusual feeling, I think, for the last few seasons. But it felt like yesterday we were in control moving forward, and we dictated how we wanted to play in Notts County's half. And yeah, well, I actually think we're unfortunate not to probably get a fourth in the end as well.
Absolutely, and we'll get to one chance, and we'll mention one player who must have run over about 10 cats yesterday. Tom, County changed their shape, I think, shortly after this, didn't they? And they gambled. First sign of them really thinking, right, we're going to have a go here, we've got to. And I suppose as a fan, you'd rather that. You'd rather lose 4-1 having a proper go than just letting the game drift to its conclusion. But you went to a back four, sacrificed a defensive player. You put Aaron Nemain at right back and Jody Jones in front of him and said, right, we're just going to go down that side and attack at pace and be direct. Gills countered, bought on Robbie McKenzie for Johnny Williams, another player who was very good on the evening and probably, well, we'll talk about him at the end once we've got through the timeline. So yeah, Gills were, again, that probably was a reactive substitution to Stephen Clemence, but I liked it in the sense he did it straight away. He didn't allow Notts County to settle into their new shape and then maybe do it if they pinched a goal and got back to 3-2. He was very quick to act and try and counter what the home team were trying to do. And then, and it's probably testament to us and also sums up Notts County at the moment, that we're probably 40 minutes into this episode. I don't think we've mentioned Macaulay Langstaff yet. But his big moment came, and it was decent movement from the main. He gambled from right back and darted through midfield and slipped a little ball into the edge of the box. It's a chance that Macaulay Langstaff's gobbled up all season. You see him get on the edge of that box and whip that right-footed finish, and you think, right, that's going in the corner, because he's done it all season on 20 occasions. But another moment, Tom, that just sort of summed you up. It felt half-hearted and it felt like it lacked confidence, and he didn't make a proper contact. And again, it was just another one that Jake Turner was able to lay down and have a little nap on for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up really well there. The confidence is lacking. And like Reece said, we needed to get a goal in that period where we were in the ascendancy. And I think the credit has to go to our management team. I've seen a few people online saying, what are we doing in the main right back? It doesn't make sense. And like Langstaff played that one little bit and all this, but we had to change something. And I think you have to give credit, like you said about Clemence making the proactive. We were okay, fair enough, it's reactive in terms of a 3-1 down, but we didn't just carry on with something that clearly wasn't working for 60 minutes, whatever it is. We tried to change it, and the change of shape was, well, it worked because we did get a lot more chances. We got more chances in that shape in half an hour than we did with the other shape for an hour. So, and like on another day. We said that a lot recently, but those chances go in. We have a different game.
We've said that for about 3 seasons.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And you had one, obviously, we're going to get onto, which I mean, should have gone in. I didn't. I thought it was in, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of our chances, like Langstaff should score. Sam Austin's one's a decent half chance. McGoldrick had a couple of scuffed efforts in the area. So
he had a header just after as well, didn't he? That he just didn't. It looked like it hit him in the face as well. Again, another sort of nearly moment.
Exactly, a lot of nearly moments. Yeah, exactly. A lot of those, and I feel like that's a little bit how it's going at the minute. We're just not getting the rub of the green, really. Like the last game against Mansfield, we had a couple of chances we should have took a different game. Barrow chances should have taken. Again, Langstaff missed one in that. So, you know, he's due a goal. Hopefully it'll be on Tuesday. And also just to bring it back around to Aidan Stone, which Reece mentioned, yeah, it wasn't his best performance, but he has been better in the last few weeks. And I think you mentioned his confidence, and I think that our fan base has actually got a lot to sort of answer for there, because people consistently tag him in posts saying he's not good enough, and that's obviously going to completely ruin his confidence. And he's not had that. He got dropped quite early on this season as well, so that's going to knock your confidence. And I just feel it's been, you know, he's had. Fair enough, he hasn't been the keeper we expected him to be, like a clear upgrade in that, but it's not through a lack of trying. He's had a lot of criticism, which is obviously going to get to someone. And he also raised a very good point, and maybe I shouldn't say this on here in case we do play in the playoffs, the very slim chance that we make it. But he, like you said, he goes low and he makes a save with his feet. Stone is very good at saving with his feet. You notice all the goals sort of were aerial, high sort of strikes, and the more the chances he doesn't get to. With his feet, he's actually exceptional saving with his feet. It's other aspects of his keeping which has left a little bit to be desired.
Something to keep an eye on, Reece. We'll send that in. We'll get that scouting report sorted out. Gills were the ones that were creating the chances as the game sort of came towards its conclusion, and poor old Timmy Dieng. I don't know what he's done.
Oh yeah,
it's how good's Romeo Hutton. That's a hell of a delivery. He's fallen over. He's done that shit on his arse. Absolutely. Because you watch it, and I've watched the highlights again, and you hear all the Notts County fans start laughing because Romeo slips. And then they all sort of go, and sort of stop breathing for a second, because Timmy Dieng does absolutely everything right. He gets across his man. It's a glancing header into the far corner. Just use the pace of the delivery. It's the inside of the post. It bounces out. It spins across. It's the inside of the other post. And I think we end up with a corner. Like, the poor lads had no luck in that game at all, because he could have had an assist if Josh Walker hadn't got the faintest of touches to Max Clark's volley before he got to it. But again, it's another point towards the fact that Ramo Hutton, and I was a big fan of Che Alexander, is a massive upgrade at right wing back.
No, absolutely. It's a great ball. He does slip over. It does make me laugh, and it put me off balance myself while trying to watch it and see if actually it was a good delivery. But the thing does everything right as well. He glances the header, and you can't get any closer without scoring, if you know what I mean. Like, it's another millimetre on the inside of the post. It's the other post and goes in.
Yeah.
But Dieng, yeah, he has had a bit of he's had such an influence on the game. But to add insult to injury, he gets a yellow card as well for dissent and gets a score on my app of 6.5, which I think is completely unfair.
Oh, yeah, he kicked the ball away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
But, you know, I thought he was unlucky. Of course he was, yeah. And, yeah, he deserved an assist. He deserved a goal out of that. And I think, you know, it's a very nearly performance if you look at statistics for Dieng, but actually in reality, if you look at how he influenced the game and he was in and about and creating stuff, actually he was a big asset in that win for Gillingham yesterday. Yeah,
it was one I'd called for at the start of the game, and like I said, it just looked like we was more balanced with that triangle of Dieng, Coleman and Johnny Williams in front. But again, it goes back to the fact that what a good position we are in, with the likes of George Lapsley and Connor Mahoney available to come from the bench. Dom Jeffries out injured at the moment, so it's an area that we're well stacked in. There was another chance, and it was Connor Masterson again. Like, it's a ridiculous performance from Connor Masterson in both boxes. Again, it's not great from a Notts County point of view. I think Ramo Hutton takes a long throw, Tom. Max Emer just leans into his centre half and just rolls him and lets the ball drift past him. And then Connor Masterson tries the acrobatic, which is, I suppose, something you try when you're 3-1 up away from home and you've already scored and set one up from centre half. He's unlucky. It's not a bicycle kick. I don't want to say a bicycle kick, but it's a hooked effort over his shoulder that lands on the roof of the net. I'm not sure Stone's getting there, but that was probably the final chance. And I've levelled this at Gills loads of times, Tom. Board goes up for 6 minutes. And then the next tweet from Gills is full time when you're chasing a game. And it's so frustrating because you think, like, where's the kitchen sink? Where's the Alamo? Did it just feel a bit like that from your point of view? There was 6 minutes. The crowd didn't really believe that you could. I know you're 2 goals behind. I get that. But for a side that scores so many goals, there just, again, seems to be a lack of belief in the whole stadium amongst the fan base and the players that there was any chance of maybe rescuing something.
Yeah, we're not really used to this, I think, because there have been times where we've got late goals, and like we played Colchester, I think, away early in the season, and like we lost that game, but we scored a couple of late goals and made it really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's funny you mentioned the tweets. Actually, after the game, when I was going through the timeline, I saw that the 6 added minutes, and it was 6 in capital letters, and it made me laugh because I thought, having seen the game and knowing what happened after that tweet, it just was like, the admin who's tweeted that was so optimistic, and then nothing happened in the 6 minutes. So it was just made me laughing. Well, you got to laugh or you cry, because it was there was nothing really. We didn't really go for it in the 6 added minutes. It kind of petered out, and it was a flat end to the game. And nothing really happened. We were lucky, like you say, to not have conceded 4, because Timmy Dieng, who had an unbelievable game, that chance I thought it was in, like it rolled across the goal line pretty much, or bounced across the goal line. Like, it's just unbelievable that it didn't go in.
One step at a time. 2 away from home against Accrington, 3 at Notts County. We'll save the 4 for another game. Maybe the playoffs.
God,
anyway,
kiss of death.
No, we're going up automatic. What? Full-time whistle went. I think it's fair to say we're all going to agree that Gills deserves to win the football match. So a couple of questions from me in terms of, well, questions, statements, that type of thing. This was actually going to be for you, Reece, because we wasn't aware until late on that Tom was actually going to be available. So I'll speak to both of you. I've written down, what do we make of Notts County? I've put, for me, based on 90 minutes, and I understand that it's only 90 minutes to go off and only 180 minutes of the games I've watched him fall against us this season. For me, based on what I've seen Friday night, Notts County struggle to make the playoffs because they just look a team to me that lacks a plan B at the moment. Maybe there's players that are still trying to adjust to life after Luke Williams. They just kept passing it for passing's sake, it felt to me. Like not once, even in the last couple of minutes, you think just lob a corner into the box, just sling a cross in, and it was short and backwards and square and allowing us to set. And I'd have been tearing my hair out. So I'll come to you first, Tom, and then I'll get Reese's opinions on what we think of Notts County and where they go from here.
Yeah, I think we struggled to make the playoffs, if I'm honest. That's the first time I've said that. And I said, I think on the preview that, we've come for a really bad run and we're still in the playoffs. And this is sort of the first time we've dropped out now. And one of those that once you're out of it, it's very hard to get back in. I know you guys we're in it and then have dropped, but you are back in now. And we kind of need that period of resetting. Have we got enough time left in the season to do that?
That'll be my question. There's a big difference between slipping out in October, November and December to slipping out February through into March, 5 games without a win, trying to change the way you play slightly with a new manager. I know it's a similar style to Williams and you're trying to continue it, but it just seems that there's a lot of stuff at the moment that you're almost fighting against the tide a little bit. And like you say, games are running out fast and momentum's a massive thing at this stage of the season.
Yeah, it's momentum and confidence, and we've got Newport and Wrexham both away next week. We've not been great away at all this season, really. Last season we were brilliant away. This season we've been really poor actually, and like Newport, you target as a game that's winnable, but actually they're in really good form. I think they're only 4 points behind us, and if they win, they'll be 1 point behind us this weekend. And like they've won like 4 of the last 5 or something, so they're full of confidence, and we're not. Wrexham not. Other than one game last season, whenever we've played them recently, we've struggled with them, and I feel that maybe psychologically they've got a bit of an edge over us. So you're looking at a scenario where this time in 8 days, we could be miles off it. But similarly, if we get a win, the games are coming thick and fast enough that we can put a little bit of a run together. We've got the quality in the final third, like with the second top scorers or whatever it is. We can do it. It's just that we need that little bit of confidence booster, and it's difficult though when we've got a bench that's so thin and you've got a team that's clearly lacking confidence. There's not a lot you can change, and also as the games come thick and fast, that starting 11, which we all really rate, is going to get more tired. The fatigue's going to creep in, especially as they're all playing full 90s because we're not subbing anyone off. So
and fatigue tends to creep in quicker when you're struggling and not playing well. You can get through it and run on adrenaline if you're winning football matches, but at the moment, like I say, it's very much fighting against the tide. Yeah,
exactly. So I can't see us making it, especially as it's pretty much 7th spot, because I think MK Dons will probably go on and make 6th their own as well. I think you guys are a better team than us. I think there's a couple in there that are better at the moment, and that's the horrible thing, because on our day in terms of 11, we can be as good as anyone. But I just think that squad depth, like we mentioned, I'm not saying that the substitutions were the whole thing, because you were beating us with our first 11, but you were able to make changes that could see out the game. We couldn't change anything, and as the games come, I do worry if we've got a squad well equipped enough to change the fortunes of our season.
Reece, going to come to you. What do you think? Do they have the firepower to potentially shoot themselves back in, or is the defensive issue something that's too far ingrained at this stage of a season to mean that they can turn this tide that they're fighting against?
I mean, didn't you have a 5-5 recently? I think that always jumps off the page when I see that. And when you see results like 5-5 and there's like 10 goals in one game, you can kind of question a lot. Yeah, you might have and it's clear that you have a lot of attacking prowess moving forward, and you can find ways to break teams down. But when you come up against a team who can defend against that, and then not having the depth to be able to change things up, or the dynamism to be able to do that, then obviously you get unpicked a little bit. But I've got to say, I think you're yesterday, the 2 players that really impressed me were Crowley and Jones. I thought they were good most of the game. They were trying to make stuff happen. That's where your industry of the pitch comes from. And I think if those guys can play at 100% every game, then I still think there's an opportunity for you to be in the playoff hunt. But I think it's clear, you alluded to it already, Tom, that there's that lack of depth and being able to make an impact with changes and change the shape or change the plan to be able to play against teams who know how to play against you in the first instance. And I think that is probably where a lot of teams, when they get promoted into the Football League, they need that transitional time. Even though they might have good quality players, they need to then work on that depth to be able to push further on up the table. I think Mansfield Town have been a victim of that when they went down from the went up from the National League, and they're that kind of team, the nearly teams. But then once they get that depth, they can then change games and make an impact, particularly with substitutions. And I think Notts County yesterday, even though, like I say, I've only seen 180 minutes myself, it does seem to be that is the Achilles heel of Notts County.
My own take on it, for what it's worth, is I think they're a victim of their own system at the moment.
Yeah,
I think it's great having all these attacking players in there, and it's great at the start of the season when teams don't know how to play against it. You win 4-1, 5-1, 4-3, 5-0. It's exciting, it's brilliant, but now you get into the home straight of the season, and I think teams have worked out how to play against you. You've got two wing backs that essentially don't want to defend. You've got two centre halves that want to step out. You leave yourselves man for man at the back when you're attacking, which is a risk. I didn't understand David McGoldrick being from the left-hand side in that sort of double 10 role, because he's so predominantly right-footed. He kept stepping back into traffic, which for me made it easy because Timmy Dieng or Ethan Coleman could just get a toe on it and pick it off him. So for all the good players, and the numbers, like we said, Tom, preview show, are absolutely staggering. I think you've got to find another way, and quickly. But like you say, time is against you. The grains of sand are quickly disappearing. And if someone had to ask me now, I'd put my neck on the line and say I don't think you make the playoffs, unfortunately.
No, I think you're right. I think that's completely fair. I think something will change. I think the next game we'll see a difference. I think we'll start with that 4. I just can't see us not. I think that 4 we're much better. I know we conceded a couple of chances late on, but
you're pushing on there. That's understandable. You take chances out of the last 5 minutes because you're going to be open because you're trying to gamble. So you've got to look at it from like that sort of 60 to 75 minutes. You was as potent as you looked during the whole football match.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll go with that system. The only difficulty is that man you mentioned, David McGoldrick, because where does he fit in to that system? Because you've got him and Crowley kind of vying for the same kind of spot in the 10, if you like. If we do change to a 4-3-3, you kind of can't. That's kind of why I think we persisted with this system, because we want to fit everyone in. But I think there's going to have to be some brave decisions if someone's got to drop to the bench, and it doesn't have to be every game there on the bench, but we simply cannot continue to play. We basically play with 6, 7 attackers and 3 defenders.
It's just got very much a computer game feel to it, like FIFA. Like you're playing FIFA and you just think, I'll put as many attacking players on with pace and I'll win football matches. But obviously it's very different in real life. Anyway, I want to ask you about Stephen Clemence, Tom, because we follow each other on Twitter. You know I've had my issues with Stephen and over the sort of 3 months that he's been in charge. But I did tweet immediately full-time last night. I said, huge kudos had to go to Stephen Clemence and his assistant, Robbie Stockdale, because aside from the first 10 minutes, I thought he got it absolutely spot on. System, personnel changes. If you look at the 3 that came into the lineup, Max Clark scored, super solid. Timmy Dieng came in solid. Johnny Williams everywhere, live wire, creating things. Substitutes all came on and helped us get over the line. What have you made of Stephen Clemence's appointment and his reign so far from a neutral perspective or opposition perspective on this case?
I think it's been quietly kind of underrated a little bit. And I understand that's easily said from the outside looking in. I can understand the frustrations, and the change was made, the kind of idea that you would become a lot more attacking, I think, and it hasn't quite panned out that way. But you have scored, I think, in your last 7 now, at least 6 or 7, at least 1, and that is a step in the right direction. I think that as football fans, and I'm guilty of it as well, I think we all underestimate how difficult it is for a manager to come in midway through a season, because there's already been a style established. The players have already got their link and understanding of a manager, and we kind of had a similar thing. Like, I know Neil Harris was dismissed, but I'd imagine a lot of the players got on. Well, you were playing well, so I'd imagine that some of the players, at least, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it's difficult for players losing a manager that's doing well to then go and trust a new manager that's come in, and you think, well, we're doing well anyway. Similar to Notts, with Luke Williams has gone, and we've now got a new manager, and it's very difficult for them to make an impact straight away because you had a manager that was doing quite well. So I think he's been quietly underrated, and I think that, like, last night showed that he can make the moves in the right direction. And like I think you, the credit in a weird way has to go to the time of the change, because like we mentioned, you had that period where you weren't as good, but you've still hung on to that playoff race. And now, if it all clicked into gear now, which I know it's only one performance against a struggling team that are in bad form, but if it clicks into gear now, you're in the right position to, if you go on a run, you enter this playoffs with real momentum, and who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I think that's a very good summarization of it. Again, Reece, I mean, we've spoke about Stephen Clemence loads, so I'm not going to ask for your opinion too much on it because we speak about it every week. I just want to ask you about a couple of players and how pleasing it was for them. Johnny Williams, I thought, was probably one of his, if not his best performance in a Gillingham football shirt. I thought he was absolutely everywhere last night. Max Clark, like, as we've said, came in as one of the best left-backs in the division, should be playing every week based on his ability at the level, if it wasn't for a massive Scott Malone shadow looming over him. Just how good was he last night and how pleased were you for him? Not to just come in and play, but to come in and play well and be part of a very good defensive performance, and then also to score potentially goal of the month, goal of the season, dare I say, at least for us.
Well, the thing is, with someone, if you've a lot of, when you've got someone like Scott Malone who does, you say, shadows over your position, then you've got an opportunity to come on and play. You have to make an impact. You have to make your performance memorable. And it has to be something which is noteworthy and more than noteworthy. And he did that absolutely flawlessly yesterday. He went there, he got a goal, he had a huge impact, and he was remembered. And I think that's if you're trying to scorch your mark onto a position to make the next game a difficult decision for Stephen Clemence to choose his left back, then I think you've done the right thing. You've made that impact. And I think Clark did that yesterday, and it was really refreshing to see that he took his moment and he really shone. And to get the goal and the manner that he did, it's going to make choosing that that left back position very challenging for Clemence moving forward to Tuesday and beyond, because you've got two quality players that can fill that same position. And on top of that as well, it was good to see Williams as well perform at that. What we can see what he's capable of, and he was all over the place, and he was very confident on the ball. He was fast on his feet. He was drawing fouls, and he was breaking up the play, which is exactly what you need against a Notts County team who are going to have possession-based football. And I think he did that flawlessly yesterday as well. So I was really happy for both of them. Equally, I think, well, slightly more happy with Clark because of the goal he scored, of course, and the impact that he had in terms of replacing Malone. But both of them were brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, and just briefly on Williams from you, Tom, I thought, again, we mentioned Josh Walker at the top of the show in terms of the graphics at the start of the game, said he was going to partner Ollie Hawkins, but it didn't really pan out that way. It was probably similar to Johnny Williams. You'd think in a 3-4-1-2, he's going to be the number 10. He's going to be the one that links the play between the midfield and the attack. But the way we played, it almost felt like we was playing like almost a flat midfield in the middle of the park. And then if one went, they rotated who was the one that was further forward. And looking at Johnny's heat map, he's all over the show in terms of moving out to the left-hand side, dropping into pockets of space. How impressed were you with Johnny Williams? Because you've already mentioned that player for play, you're very impressed with our squad.
Yeah, no, he was immense. He is a really, really, really good player. Like, he's got so much quality. And what Reece said there about him breaking up play, like that is what he's done, but that's not necessarily what you associate with his game.
No, exactly.
And the fact he's got that in his game is like, he's just such a good player. And yeah, like Matt Clark as well that you mentioned, we've spoken about him already, but too good to be a backup. And Johnny Williams, again, he kind of was a bit of a marquee signing in the summer, really, kind of stole him away. And a hell of a player, like unbelievable talent. He's been a Wales international, even recently, even though he's been in League Two. That's kind of the level of talent he's rated at and he's got in his locker. And I think that's kind of on the Max Clark and Scott Malone thing. I guess it kind of, as Notts County fans, we can relate to that in terms of we've got players in positions where we've got two players that probably need to start. You see, you've got to shoehorn them into a system. So how do you both get Clark and Malone in the team? You've basically got to play one out of position, which then it's very difficult because, yeah, they're still a very good player, but they're playing out of position and then it sort of feeds on. And it's a similar thing to us, I think. So, but the fact that you've got those options and yeah, I think we said spot on. Like Max Clark is like, you can't drop him surely after that performance. Like, he was so good. But then you've got Scott Malone who's a championship. He is still a top end League One at the very least level, like probably a championship level fullback. So like, what do you do? It's good problems to have for you guys, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's better than scraping around trying to find all the players that nobody else wanted, which we were doing at the first half of last season. So yeah, certainly decent issues and headaches for Stephen Clemence. Reece, just quickly before we wrap this up, this has to be the standard now, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think Clemence has shown what his team is capable of, and this is. I think you're right. We will look back to this game, but any performance from now on, we'll look back as this is the measure, this is the benchmark, and I think that's a healthy thing to do as well, because it's a showcase of what we're capable of. And so I think looking back to this game is going to be important to try and measure how our performances are. I mean, albeit Notts County set up probably slightly differently to how Walsall would set up, but it shows the kind of we can play in an expansive field, and I think that's the most important signpost from that game yesterday. So we should be using this game as a measure for us moving forward. Absolutely.
Yeah, this has got to be the barometer now to be compared against, because and I've said in recent weeks, like February was going to be a big barometer of where we potentially end up. We played Notts County and we've gone there and we've won well to give ourselves some belief. Swindon, if we turn up, is a game we have to be looked to be winning. Newport will be tough, and then the final 2 games of the month are Wrexham and Stockport. So we're going to know by the 1st of March where we are. But just looking at the top 10, this is in our hands in terms of playoffs, and dare I say it's still automatic promotion if we can put together a really good run. Still got to play Stockport, Mansfield, Barrow twice, Wrexham, Crewe, Harrogate and Wimbledon. So it's only MK Dons and Notts County out of the top 10 that we don't face between now and the rest of the season. So we can't say it's not in our hands. We're not going to have to rely on anyone else apart from ourselves.
That absolutely, like, yeah, we are. It's in our, yeah. We're going to make our own destiny this season, and yeah, I think you summed it nicely. It is at the start of March is when we start is where we start to find out where we're going to be, but the fact that we're still in with it and we're spearheading this charge into the playoff position is telling, but it's sustaining that and sustaining that with the teams we have to play around us. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be turbulent, but it's still within our hands. Absolutely.
Final word before we wrap this up is for the 950 plus Gills fans that travelled all the way to Meadow Lane on a wet and windy Friday night to watch their team come away with 3 points and what was a very good performance. A credit to each and every single one of you. I'm absolutely jealous that I couldn't get up there because of it being moved. Who does the fixtures? Who looks after EL fans? That's my only gripe on this episode, is moaning about the EFL briefly. Thanks to Reece. Thanks to Tom, as always. It's been an absolutely brilliant episode. Thanks to everybody who's been watching, Gills fans, Notts County fans. If you've got this far, then you know what to do. Please hit the like button. Please go and press subscribe. We are around 55 away from 3,000 subscribers. I keep saying, once we get there, I will do a prize giveaway that's open to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And up the Gills.